This tutorial will demonstrate the construction of a second task within the breathing regulator application.
The
As you can
breathing
see,
regulator.
currently we only have one task called outlet pressure test. So we want to create a second task called outlet flow test. So we're going to go into the tasks, right click and click add, and we're going to call it outlet flow test. Click OK. And it's been created. So we'll go to the main control form, and you have outlet flow test and outlet pressure test. The interface allows you to perform all tests when you click go, or you can select individual tests. And you can select
Outlet
one
pressure test, outlet flow test,
or the other.
perform
Or
all
both.
tasks. Individual tasks. Outlet flow test, perform all tasks.
So what we want to do for the outlet flow test is we want to change this pneumatic diagram just a little bit. Instead of using PID 3_2, what we're going to do is get rid of that, and we're going to create a new PID called PID 2_2. And we're going to connect that between instrument 2, which measures the outlet pressure, and actuator 2, which is a proportional valve. So now the computer is going to look at the outlet pressure and make sure that it's always set to a specified set point, and it's going to crack the proportional valve A2 until it attains that outlet pressure. Then what we're going to do is we're going to measure the resulting outlet flow. So it's a little bit different than the first test, which instead controls the flow and measures the outlet pressure. So it's the opposite of that. So we're not going to have a range of outlet flows. We're going to instead have a range of 20 to 30 for the outlet flow. So basically, when we set an outlet pressure, the regulator must maintain a flow of between 20 and 30 liters per minute. So the outlet pressure we're going to set using PID 2_2, which is right here. And we're going to set a value here. Instead of using a range, we're going to have 1.5 inches of water. And then here we're going to have 1.75. And then here we're going to have 20 to 30 again. So again, we're going to set an inlet pressure of 50 psig and an outlet pressure of 1.5, and then measure the resulting flow, and it must be within a range between 20 and 30. And then we're going to do it again for 100 and 1.75 on the outlet pressure, and it must attain the same flow range right here in order for the test to pass. So we're going to modify our test sequence just a little bit. The test sequence is right here. So we're going to set the PID 1_1 the same as before. And this is going to be a little bit different here. This is going to be PID 2_2, and we're going to set a range of, well, it's going to be 1.5 the first time around, and then comma 1.75. And then we're going to record I3 instead. So it's not I2, it's going to be I3. And then we're going to say if I3 is between 20 and 30, then it passed. Now this is a little bit different than the outlet pressure test in terms of the number of times that it's going to loop around. We only need one loop, and it's going to loop around twice. Before we had the primary array set to 50 and then 70, and then we had a secondary array loop around for each of these values. We don't need to do that in this case. So we only need to loop around once. So we're only going to loop around within the secondary array. And I'll show you a little bit more how that's done. It's actually a little bit simpler. So the next thing we're going to do is go into the tree view, and we're going to add a third PID. So add PID 2_2. Then we're going to open up the property window and select instrument 2 and actuator 2. And then in terms of switch logic, we are going to make sure that the vacuum pump is on. So this must be on in order for this PID to be enabled. So switch 2 must be true. Click enter table, and there you go. There you have it. So now let's take a look at our test sequence. Enter username. That's already been taken care of within the session information task, which is automatically created, and that was already shown in a previous example. And then enter serial number. That was also already created. So we're going to have to instruct the user to install the part. And what we want to do is we want to only show that instruction if the user is only going to select an individual task. So
outlet flow test.
So it's only going to be shown if the user selects outlet flow test.
Perform all tasks.
If the user selects perform all tasks, then it's only going to be shown in the outlet pressure test. So within the outlet flow test, we're going to add an instruction install part. And it's going to be identical to the one we've already added. So we can just copy what we've already added in terms of text to this one. So within the note, put please install the part within the test stand. And then for the confirmation, click yes to continue. And then the HTML file would be the same as well. So you can just copy that. Now we want to copy install part. We're going to copy the name and then open up the VSTA macro. And then open up the module outlet flow test. And a module has automatically been created, as well as the subroutines outlet flow test and outlet flow test shutdown. So the first thing we want to do is paste install part dot selected equals true. And we want to shield it in such a way that this instruction is only selected if you're running a single test. If you're running all tests, then it should not show up, because